हमारे वक्त की धड़कन, हमारा चिंतन, हमारी भावनाएं, हमारे विचार, कभी कोमल बातचीत तो कभी इंटरेक्शन तेज तर्रार। तय करें मिलकर व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, व्हाट इज राइट। ITV पर अशोक व्यास के साथ इनसाइट टुनाइट।
नमस्कार, वेलकम टू इनसाइट टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास। और आज के कार्यक्रम में हम बात करने वाले हैं कि किस तरह से शुरुआत होती है उस सीढ़ी पर चढ़ने की जहां जाने के बाद आप सुनते हैं कि ही इज अ मिलियनेयर। जब हम भारत से आते हैं तो बहुत लोगों के मन में सपना यह होता है कि लगभग 12-15 साल पहले तक हम सुनते थे कि $1 मिलियन हो जाए या $100,000 हो जाए तो मैं फिर भारत लौट जाऊंगा। अमेरिका बहुत सारे सपने दिखाता है, बहुत सारे अवसर भी सुलभ कराता है और आने वालों के मन में कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ की समृद्धि के साथ एक में एक होने की इच्छा रहती है। एंड दैट टेक्स अस टुवर्ड्स द स्पिरिट ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप। सो हाउ दिस स्पिरिट फाइंड्स इट्स वे इन अस, how it develops, who are the successful entrepreneurs, and has the world changed to the extent where the business models and so many innovative areas are also available for youth which were non-existent. Because if you remember, there was a time when there was no internet, there was no Facebook, no Twitter, and all these platforms for advertising, which are now not only connecting us socially, but are also drawing so much flow of advertising money. So the world has changed, but what essentially probably has not changed is the definition which I got from my professor of marketing during my MBA at Jodhpur. Actually, there was a course called Business Environment in which Professor Raj K. Agrawala defined business as businessman is someone, according to him, who identifies the need and then figures out a way to fulfill that need. So it was a very simple definition. Either you fulfill that need with the help of the product that you are offering, or by the service that you want to provide to take care of these potential consumers. तो डेफिनेशन नहीं बदली है, लेकिन कंज्यूमर्स का स्वरूप बदल गया है, एनवायरनमेंट बहुत बदल गया है। और आज के एनवायरनमेंट में जब हम न्यूयॉर्क में बैठकर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स स्पिरिट के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, एंड स्पेशली वी वांट टू सी हाउ यंग माइंड इज finding itself on this path of entrepreneurial spirit. So I have the pleasure of welcoming two, call them students as well as entrepreneurs. They have already worked with some startups. So let me take this opportunity of first welcoming Kumesh Arumugan. So you are co-founder of Accern.com, and before that also you have worked with 3 other startups. So we'll talk about them, and then your partner or your co-founder of this Accern, Anshul Pandey, is also with us. Anshul Pandey did his electrics and electronics course from BITS Pilani, and now you are pursuing your PhD in data analysis at New York University.
Yes.
And also you are working towards this business side.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we'll talk about that business model, and I also have the pleasure of welcoming someone who has served many clients. Not only he has served them, but he also created or developed interest in some other areas of commercial real estate. So Rajiv Kaul, स्वागत है आपका.
Thank you.
Welcome. So I would start off by requesting you, Kumesh, when you first started thinking about doing your own business,
Right.
what were the basic concerns that you had?
Well, it was the risks, the time that I was going to put in for this, because I could have been working at a 9-to-5 job, getting a steady paycheck. But then I wanted to start a business because it's personal. So when I was in college, when I was a college freshman year, I started a fitness company. It's called X Fitness. And what we did was create unique fitness videos for beginners. So these fitness videos would incorporate music plus diagrams of how exactly you should do the workout. And we basically created those videos, made a website, made instructions, and market these to beginners who actually want to learn about these fitness. And then after that, further on in college, I started another company. It was a web design company, which was...
Okay, let me just hold you for a second.
Yeah.
And Anshul, I know probably you were not a part of this experience of starting a fitness company, but in general, when you have an idea, then there are very few people who would pursue that path of executing this idea, because they'll in their mind think that no, it won't happen, it would not give me the desired results, so let me leave it aside. So what is it that takes in an individual at young age to sustain his interest and relationship with the idea to take it towards executing it?
I think when you start on a project, or like as it happens a lot in a PhD setup, in a research setup. So you start a project with a vision in mind. So you try to identify the problem which has been there in the market for last 10 years, but hasn't been implemented because of some technological constraint or like some other constraint. So what actually drives a person or a young entrepreneur is whether he believes that that idea is going to make a change or not. Because if you start working on something disruptive, it is very likely that people come and tell you that, okay, this is not going to succeed because no one has ever made an algorithm which actually works the way that you think it should. But this gap is what basically makes your USP. Like if you can bridge that gap, you are actually making a change in the society, you are making a dent in the society. So I think having a vision and having lots of faith in what you believe is going to succeed is the first step towards building some nice product.
That first step is very important, having a vision. So now, Rajiv, you probably have come across many people during that stage of their growth where they were a little unsure and what others say would matter more till the time they succeed. So how is the mental state at this juncture for an entrepreneur?
First, I'd like to go back to what your Professor Agarwala said. I think he said to you in your class was identify a need and find a way to fulfill the need, right? That's an Indian model. But if you look at the American system, here, Howard Schultz of Starbucks or Steve Jobs of Apple, they did not identify a need. They identified a product. And then they went to masses, and masses wanted to have those products. So it's the other way around in this country. What happens is, I never thought that I'll pay $5 for a cup of coffee, but I do. I never thought that I'll pay $500 for an iPhone, but I do. So I think what Anshul said is very true. Having a vision, what you want to do is extremely important. And coming back to your question is, how do you go from having that vision to realizing that vision and taking it to the ultimate level? It's extremely important to have the faith in your idea and to have the capacity to sustain that idea for the long term. I've seen a lot of people with a lot of great ideas, but they do not succeed because for financial reasons, for personal reasons, or other reasons, they are not able to fulfill their dream. So my advice to these young guys, which they've rightly done, is start early in life. Because the later you take this route, the harder it gets, the more difficult it is, because you have your other responsibilities applied. So I think the earlier you start, the better off you are.
So the earlier you start, and probably there is an element of the ability to follow through some adventurous experiences. So talking about the adventurous experiences, and now going back to Kumesh, when you started this fitness video, and there were many videos of that nature already available in the market. So what gave you the conviction that this will work?
Right. So I had a lot of friends who was into fitness, and we love fitness. So it was that passion for fitness that made us start this company. So without that passion, we wouldn't have started a company at all. And it's that passion that you need to start any company. And if you don't have that, then your company is never going to succeed further on the line.
Now, just looking at it as a case study, so there are many things that are needed. You have a product, then you need a proper launch, you need it to be distributed properly, which again requires a lot of investment. So were you clear about the scope of this company?
Right. Well, the investment, it was a web-based company. So when you start a web-based company, there's not much fixed cost that deals with it. So the web-based company, the main cost would be hosting, and that's about it. And then you can get millions of users right there. So if you start a web-based company, your cost is going to be less, and you can be able to afford that. But if you start a software business, the cost is pretty high, and that's when you need investments and investors to help you out.
So how was your experience of this company?
So my experience with the fitness company was great. It was low cost. We didn't have to spend any money at all, like below $1,000. And we had a couple thousand users of our videos and all that sort of stuff. And we generate money by placing revenues at the end of our videos. And we had a website that attract viewers and all that sort of stuff. So
now the question is, did you make money?
Yes, I made.
Okay. So congratulations. So that is important, because all parents think, okay, whatever time you have invested, I mean, was it just a wastage? So there has to be some result-oriented approach as far as any business goes. और पहले हम ऐसे सुनते आए हैं कि अगर कोई and I use the reference of Swami Vivekananda. So somewhere he said, and his words must have been different, but what he said was, if you want to collect people in the name of the quest for truth, then you will find many people joining you, and they would probably sit with you, and you'll have a group of people who are devoted to pursue this kind of spiritual ideas. But in West, and he was saying it in America, it is easier for people to get together, form a company, which might take many years in India. So, Anshul, आप भारत से थोड़े समय पहले ही आए हैं, तो आपको क्या डिफरेंस लगता है बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट वाइज या अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स बिजनेस, जैसा आपने इंडिया में देखा और जैसा यहाँ देखा?
आई थिंक ये काफ़ी क्लोज है स्पिरिचुअलिज्म के. As you just mentioned, Swami Vivekananda, having a vision in mind, working on a product, or it basically requires lots of effort on your side, and you kind of reach a stage where आपको बिल्कुल फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कि कोई आपके बारे में क्या सोचता है, आपके प्रोडक्ट के बारे में क्या सोचता है. You and your product are the two things that exist, and I think this kind of a very strong bonding that you develop with your idea, where you actually start living with your idea, starts this new whole zone for you, where you have a product, you have vision in mind, your product starts giving amazing results, और उसके बाद आपको रियलाइज होता है ओके मतलब ये उतना डिफरेंट नहीं था जितना आपने सोचा था. मतलब अब आपको लोग अप्रिशिएट करते हैं. आप जाते हैं कहीं पे एग्जीबिशन देने, दे आर ऑस्टक लाइक दिस इज द फर्स्ट टाइम someone has come up with this kind of a result. So, and that's when you actually realize that first, if you start focusing on a product, you make it really well, you have a really good like someone who can actually help you out with the business aspects. एक क्लियर विजन के साथ आप अपने प्रोडक्ट के लिए अप्रोच करें, उसके बाद you won't see a much gap between the business aspect or like working on a completely technical background.
So what I liked about Anshul's observation is कि कहीं ना कहीं वो spiritual dimension और business dimension में एक similarity देखते हैं and the sense of identification. But now going towards the same theme with your experience, Rajiv, most of the time we see or we hear, maybe that's a stereotype image, someone who is in the business or corporate world, you associate them with a sense of restlessness, not with the kind of peace which you otherwise think. Is the mindset different?
So you're asking me whether pursuing in a corporate setting is different than working in their own business? Is that what you're asking?
No. What I'm asking is, if you are working in a business setting, does that leave enough space for your spiritual orientation to be sustained along with those responsibilities?
Well, spirituality is something which I never focused on in my business life, really. I mean, it's a good thing to consider while you're pursuing a business career and business life. But I think at the end of the day, business is business, right? If Apple Jobs was that spiritual, he would not be where he is today. Or if Bill Gates, I mean, you hear stories about him, what he has done. He's vanquished. You know, I'm sure these guys know what he did to Netscape, which is the browser. So I don't think in today's cutthroat world, spirituality has any real role to play. I think once you reach a certain level, you can afford to be spiritual, you can afford to be generous, you can afford to be magnanimous. But at this stage where these guys are, I think they have to do whatever they have to do.
I think that's a very smart way of saying something which sounds quite controversial on a certain level. But how it appears to you, you may share your ideas with us. And also, अगर आप में से किसी ने कोई business शुरू किया है नया या पहले से करते रहे हैं, and there are some lessons that you have learned during your journey of moving towards success in your business, आप शेयर करना चाहें तो आप हमें कॉल कर सकते हैं, and we'll continue this conversation with few more interesting dimensions related to the present field of business. So stay with us. We'll be back right after this break. वेलकम बैक, यू वाचिंग इनसाइड टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास। और आज के कार्यक्रम में हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के बारे में। हेलो एंटरप्रेन्योर, व्हेन आई से दैट आई वांट टू इन्वोक दैट एंटरप्रेन्योर इन यू who is willing to take you to a different stage of your life. But sometimes you have ideas and not that much conviction and strength to follow through your ideas. So is it something that we are born with? Is it something that has a relationship with our gene, or anybody could be an entrepreneur? So Rajiv, what would you say? Because again, let me add another side to it, is each individual has different set of his risk-bearing capacity, which probably is relevant as far as becoming an entrepreneur is concerned.
I don't think it's in your genes. I mean, I don't think one is destined to be a businessman. You are shaped by events in your life which are 99% of the time beyond your control, I would say. I mean, I never expected myself to be a businessman, but I am today. And I'm sure when Anshul was growing up in India, he wanted to be a mathematician and teach in a college or do whatever he wanted to do. So all of us are at a juncture in our lives decided to pursue a path which we never expected to. I'll give you a simple answer, right? Growing up in India, my father had a friend who was a chartered accountant. He was the only one among my father's friends who had a car. So I thought, the guy must be doing something right. So I decided to pursue that career. So I'm sure these guys had the same ideas, and so is everybody else. So I'm not sure that it's in our genes or it's in our DNA. We are shaped by various events in our lives. We come into contact with various people. We read about this person, that person. Ultimately, even if you don't have it in you, always surround with people who are successful. That's the key to success in life, I think. You know, if you surround yourself with people who are successful, ultimately it rubs off and it comes to you also, I think.
No, I know what you're saying is good, but just being devil's advocate, if everyone would think like that, then one who is unsuccessful, they wouldn't like to be with him or her.
Well, that's. I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, growing up or when you're young, like these guys are, you know, you have to surround with people. You have to come in contact with people who are successful, who are pursuing different type of things, and that ultimately rubs off on you. And one thing I can tell you, I've seen most successful people recognize opportunities where most, you know, you, me, or everybody else will not see an opportunity. That's the key distinction I've seen in my professional capacity when I see people who are successful. What differentiates them from others is they recognize an opportunity. Like what I said in the earlier segment, Howard Schultz is selling a $5 cup of coffee to US population. When I came to this country, I never had thought that I will pay $5 for a cup of coffee. We are paying $500 for iPhone. It's unbelievable. So that's the difference.
Absolutely. So now talking about the difference that led you to pursue your vision of forming another startup, who would you give credit for this? Was it something that just came to you, or was there any role model or source of inspiration for you?
Right. Well, for my next startup, it was a marketing firm. And the reason I created that startup was because I needed cash. And so that was one, the big driver in my startup creation for that marketing firm. So what we do was basically go out to a different law office and different accounting firms and ask them if they need a website to showcase their skills to get more clients. So we would go to these accountants and lawyers and try to build them a website. And then we would get paid by the hours. And we were getting paid pretty well. And that was basically what we did.
So you still have that web designing company?
Yes, so we have that web designing company, but we expand even further now. Now we're going to different celebrities, talk show hosts, and trying to rebrand their whole image, create different logos and all.
So here's a talk show host for you. There's a client right there for you.
Exactly.
So he's promoting you very well, and you promote me very well. But let's go about trying to understand the understanding that makes two people come together and work as co-founders of another startup. This is an interesting area to have this kind of understanding on various levels. Mm-hmm. So Anshul, what would you say was common between the two of you?
I think when we first started, I think we discussed this idea at NYU campus, and it just stuck. Like we thought that, okay, this sounds like an interesting idea. Let's figure out if someone has done similar thing or not. And then,
okay, let me interrupt you. What was this idea now? Kumesh, you want to explain?
Yeah, so the idea basically changed a lot over the few years. So the idea right now is we're trying to systematically detect anything that's happening in the world in real time. And so anyone can actually use our software and be able to pinpoint anywhere in the world a specific event in real time that's happening. And we sell those information and signals to hedge funds so they can trade on. And we're detecting these events before it's reported on media channels, like large media channels like CNN and Bloomberg.
When you say any type of event, that's a very, very open area, right. And it might lead to many government agencies thinking about potential terror-related events. So you have to be specific. What kind of events you can?
Right. So we're mainly targeting hedge funds and institutional investors. So the events that we're trying to detect is corporate events, so like mergers and acquisitions and lawsuit charges against companies, but also natural disasters like fire and climate change that could affect the various agriculture companies as well. So any kind of events could potentially affect any company out there. So it's all those analytics things that we're doing. Right.
So it is very important to work as a team for these kind of startups. Now, what is it that helped you in having that kind of synergy? Because you, being electronics engineer and doing your PhD in data analysis,
Yes.
so probably there is something that you have to offer and something that is coming from him.
Mm-hmm.
So developing that understanding was easy or difficult?
I think because we both have worked in a startup setup in the past, so that's something that we learned from experience, that you need to let the person who is good at something do his job. You should not try to span yourself so thin that you're trying to manage everything. So we decided that I will take care of the technical part, and Kumesh will figure out a way where we can start selling this thing to other people. So I think that was the first node of our connection, because we both really believed in that thing. I was doing similar stuff, but more in a research setup. I was trying to understand how to detect events in the data, how to detect the impact of certain information in the data on a company. And Kumesh was trying to apply that information to hedge funds and trying to sell a product. And we found a really good match there. So it was I think, very abrupt. Like, we decided in a day that, okay, we want to start a startup together, and we just proceeded further.
So this sounds very interesting and exciting phase for any company during their initial stages. And Rajiv ji, in order to go to the next level, when they need more funds, etc., then what is the way? Is New York very, very supportive of the startups and new entrepreneurs?
Well, New York, in terms of, I assume you're asking from the government standpoint. Yes. I mean, New York is just like any other big state where they are more interested in extracting revenue rather than supporting this type of environment. But New York has one definite advantage over other places, which is, first of all, it attracts a lot of young skilled immigrant like Anshul, who want to come here, pursue their studies, and then they come into contact with people like Kumesh, and that's how these companies come about. So it attracts a lot of talented people. Plus, New York has been a center of finance in American business world for last 100 years. So it has a lot of institutions, a lot of private players who are supportive of ideas like theirs. So I would say New York has a definite advantage over places like Iowa or places like, think of Middle America, Nebraska, or any other place like that. But in terms of regulatory point of view, I think New York and California are very burdensome on young entrepreneurs like them. Because if you were to combine, I was talking to a client of mine today, if you were to combine the top tax rate in New York, federal, state, city, and the Social Security one has to pay, the top tax rate in New York today is 52%. California is 57%. It's like killing businesses. But on the other hand, Anshul wants to come here, Kumesh is here, there are private players, there are hedge funds, there are VCs who are out in the marketplace who are willing to support them. So New York has definite advantage. But that advantage is not coming from the government. That is coming from the private sector.
So the advantage definitely is there, that you can see on the face of Kumesh and Anshul in some way. So Kumesh, when this new idea, XN.com, born, and back area being taken care of by Anshul. Now you have to go out and convince someone who is running a hedge fund. First of all, was it easy for you to get an entry and start a conversation where they would take you seriously?
Right.
Because this is something that you're just saying that we have this, you have nothing concrete to show to them. How was this?
Right, so you can't just go up to a hedge fund and tell them about your idea because they won't listen, they don't have the time. So what we had to do was actually build out a beta version of our software and actually show hard evidence that our software works and how they can make money. So we have to attract them with our results. And then after that, we to get more hedge funds, we had to build connections. So we had to build connections with one player who knows a lot of hedge funds. And we convinced him that our software would be beneficial to these hedge funds, and he would go out to these hedge funds and try to attract them to be our customers.
So that way you have someone who is helping you to go further. And most of the time we have heard about young mind devoting their energy to things like computer games, and then going to areas which involve some clubs, etc. But there are many young minds who are thinking how to grow in a way which indirectly helps in growing the economy. So from that point of view, Anshul, when you come from India, it takes time in settling down, assimilating to this new environment. How would you define the distinct difference between the two settings from the point of view of entrepreneurs?
Well, this is a very, very interesting question. Thanks for bringing it up. So there is something that I have seen in last 8 months that I have been here across students who study here. The factor which is called passion. The passion factor is really, really high here. So people don't spread themselves thin. They have an idea, they work towards an idea, they finish the product, deploy it online, put it open source, whatever, they move on. I think that's something that it was a learning curve for both of us, that when you have an idea, you should not try to branch yourselves to other directions, but try to finish it first. Try to finish it, see if it works or not. So that was a very, very distinctive, that is an important distinction between the approach which we follow back in India, where there is a very well-known saying that you first become an engineer in India and then you decide what to do in your life. So, but I think that's not the case here. I have seen people dropping out of the best computer science or mathematics programs here to pursue arts, and within a year they are doing really, really good. So that's something which I think this country has given me so far, the factor called passion. So,
wonderful. So Anshul discovered his passion in New York in a way which probably he didn't discover in India, though it was in him. And when we listen to people like him, people who are passionately following their dreams, it brings a sense of excitement in us. और हम चाहते हैं कि उस तरह का excitement आपके पास कहीं सोया हुआ है तो वो जाग जाए, और जो आप करना चाहते हैं उस पर फोकस करके उसको पीछे छुपा के न रखें, उसको implement करें, and then if that doesn't work out, तो आप हताश भी ना हो. So we will talk about how to deal with failures in the next segment when we come back after this break. वेलकम बैक टू इनसाइड टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास. और जैसे वो शेर की एक लाइन है कि गिरते हैं शह सवार ही मैदानी जंग में, और जो चले ही नहीं हैं तो वो गिरेंगे कैसे. तो फेलियर इज अ पार्ट ऑफ ईच एंड एवरी जर्नी, और स्पेशली अगर आप कुछ बिजनेस शुरू करते हैं, यू हैव योर ओन स्टार्टअप, इट विल हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड हिकअप्स. सो व्हेन कुमेश एंड अंशुल फेस दोज काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन वेयर your idea is not received the way you want it to be received, then what you do? Any experience?
Well, you basically have to go to these different events. So in New York, we have these pitch events. And we would go to these pitch events and try to pitch our ideas to a whole lot of people. And these people would give us a lot of feedbacks. And we would then take those feedbacks and try to improve our concept further and further along the line. And we would keep going to these pitch contests and trying to improve our feedback. But there are some times when you go to these pitch contests and these investors don't like the idea. It's their preference. There's some investors, not all investors are going to be interested in your idea. It depends what sector the investor is concentrated on. So like if we're finance, if we're pitching this to an e-commerce investor, he wouldn't have no idea what we're talking about. So you have to find the right people to pitch it to. And that's one of the biggest lessons that we learned.
So right pitching also involves making them see what is it that is being offered. And this term algorithm, mathematical algorithm, if that is the backbone for some business model, then many people would feel uncomfortable because they don't understand what this is and how it works. So is there anything that you can say how your data analysis is helping Xn.com in achieving what it is aspiring to achieve?
So this is, I completely agree that there has been lots of reluctance in market. People obviously never want to believe that some computer can tell them better predictions in some ways, which is true, but there is a reluctance that they will say that, okay, I can come up with a better prediction in some way because human beings have their own conscious mind or something. But again, talking completely about the algorithms and data analysis. So today, we are able to grab events which come out in the market well before it's out in any of the main media sources. So for example, if Apple is going to file a lawsuit against Samsung, even before it's out there in Reuters News or Bloomberg News, we are able to detect this information by going multi-layer mining and going into the comments and rumors website and trying to grab this event and telling the traders that, okay, see, you should be careful. There is something interesting which might happen down the line. And this is something which human beings obviously can't do. Like, there is no way you can read 4 million articles in a day. And what we are doing at Exern is we are bringing down those 4 million into only 800 to 1,000 relevant articles a day, which is very much readable in the time duration that you have during the trading. So I completely agree with Kumesh as well. Like that, based on your audience, you may get different kind of feedback. But again, you need to understand that maybe your audience hasn't seen the product yet. Like your audience may not even know that they need the product unless they actually see the product. So go on, don't consider all your feedbacks as failures. Keep iterating, have faith in yourself, and just improve upon your idea.
So talking about the success and failure and how we deal with our failures or the perception which makes us see the potential negative that is there in our product or our service or our approach. So Rajiv ji, having interacted with so many clients, what do you see generally? Human mind is human mind, because when people say bad things about you, you feel bad. So that applies to your business model also. In the face of such adverse comments, have you seen people maintaining their stand?
I have seen both instances, you know. I've seen, first of all, जो आपने शेर बोला था, उसका English translation भी आपके दर्शकों को बता दूं. Show me a person who has not made any mistakes, and I'll show you a person who has not done anything in life. That's actually 100% true. If you have not done anything, you have not made any mistakes. So if you're doing something, you're going to make mistakes. The key is to learn from those and not to repeat those. Coming back to your question, right? So I've seen both types of reactions where people have, people saw failures, people got adverse reaction from their either spouses, friends, family members, investors, and they decided to walk away from the model. I've seen the other side of it also, where people persisted. I'll give you an example. I won't name the names. A client of mine, which is a consumer products company, they came to me about 5 years ago. They were running into millions of dollars of losses. That's only about 5 years ago. Today, that company is a market leader in the products they sell to various pharmacies all across US. Their total sales for 2014 is expected to be close to $200 million. So within a 5-year period, having millions of dollars in losses, they've gone to $200 million in sales and extremely profitable. On the other hand, I've seen people are doing very well and they've gone the other way. So the right formula is very hard to put it in an algorithm like he can. I cannot say that X plus Y plus Z is going to equal success. It's, as I said, 99% of things are beyond our control. The only thing you can do is do what you think is right, stay with it, and give it a fair shot. And 99% probability is that you'll succeed.
So now, in success, there are many people who take the help of astrologers, and now computer pundits are also helping by their own way of predicting. So definitely there is a difference between the way intuition guides you and computer guides you. So Anshul, coming from Uttar Pradesh, you probably came across many astrologers somewhere? Or?
Coming from India, it's not confined to UP alone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So, well, I think down the line you will have a Siri kind of an application, which is actually my dream project, which can actually tell you everything. So it can tell you from weather forecast, which Siri already does, to who's the best person to marry. So I think that's what astrologers do back in India. Like they can tell you what decision you should make in life. But I think that's a very advanced form of. I'm coming from computer science background, so I'm talking in that respect. So I think that's a very, very advanced form of some sort of an engine which will exist down the line in the future.
So Anshul, I have come across many mathematicians or people who did their PhD in maths going towards investment side. They become a part of the Wall Street. Now, pursuing mathematics as an academician, is it not that attractive for many students now?
Well, I would put the question in a different way. So I think the reason why people join academia is that there are challenging problems. There are things that no one has ever worked on, and you are actually pushing the human evolution forward. You are contributing towards human development in some ways, or technological development. I think the reason why people go to Wall Street, because all these problems actually exist in real life there as well. So why not make money alongside to research? And that's not a bad idea. That's, I think, the whole reason why quants people existed back in 1980s and 1990s. And nowadays, people call us data scientists as the next quants guys, because we kind of do the same kind of mathematics, but not on pen and paper. We run algorithms and machine learning engines for that. So, yeah.
So algorithm is now actually governing our life in a way which many of us are not even aware of. Because at the end of the day, what is happening on social media, most of it is based on some or the other algorithm?
Yeah, you're right. Algorithms are basically like your procedures, like what are your step-by-step procedures that you should perform, right? So I think any software engine or anything that we do in real life follows a set of procedures. So translating a very chaotic environment into a set of procedures is what algorithm allows you to do. So this kind of a transformation is what brings birth to lots of really amazing ideas and lots of really amazing social networking websites, as you mentioned.
So now we talk a little bit about the social side of business. So there are two angles that I want to cover before we wind up this conversation. One, there is this wonderful quality of ambition. So you want to grow, and you were also talking about expanding human awareness or understanding. So now you want to grow and make more and more money. So nothing wrong with it. But then how you do it, that makes all the difference. So are you aware that there is this sense of social responsibility that is also a part of any organization, or that is something which stays at the back seat because immediately you don't have a lot of money and you don't think about those issues, or you have given a thought to your organization's role as far as social commitments are concerned?
Well, corporate social responsibility, that would be farther down the line. So like large corporations like Apple and Microsoft, they have the capital to give back to the world, to do whatever nonprofit stuff they want to do. But for startups, we're tight on cash. So whatever cash we can get our hands on, we have to use it into the product production. And we have to use that to get customers and build revenues. Because right now for a startup in our early stage, we're not making any revenues at all. It's all losses. So like we need to be profitable, and being profitable is going to be like a couple months down the line. And so there's no yeah.
I understand that. What I wanted you to share with us, Anshul, is there any intent? Is there any realization that is also a part of my role as an entrepreneur to give back to the society?
So I think that question, there is a very, very short and simple answer. Yes, as part of not only as an entrepreneur, but as a human being, it's our responsibility to actually think about how to improve or kind of eradicate the problems that exist in the society. So that exists in our mind as well, and down the line we do ourselves contributing back to society. And I think that would be a wrong approach for me at least, to actually build a multi-billion-dollar company and then just not do anything for the society. So I think having this sense of responsibility towards the people who you are not directly related to actually drives, it can be a source of inspiration as well, and it can also help you stay on your path and do something really, really concrete so that you can contribute back. And that's what even we have planned for down the line.
We're now talking to the experts. So, Rajiv, we have heard so much about Bill Gates and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and this sense of corporate responsibility and giving back to the society is also a kind of a cool thing nowadays, more than what it used to be. So, how it and yet you have not seen that Bill Gates is becoming poor anyway.
Yes, stock keeps going up. Yeah.
So how these two things sort of go hand in hand?
I think these two young guys gave you the answer, which is at this stage in their career, I don't think social responsibility rather, should stay in the back of your head. Right now, their only responsibility is they have come up with this idea. They have to make it to the next level and see whether it works. And if it does work, if they realize its full potential and they become rich in the process, they will probably be doing civilization and all of us a lot of good, because they will have money and resources to fulfill all these social responsibilities. I don't think Bill Gates, when he was building up Microsoft in 20s and 30s, was thinking about eradicating malaria, going all over the world to fix all the problems. At that point, his simple and sole focus was to be the best. And I mean, look at the way he has destroyed all the competition in the process. So at this stage, stay with what you have, continue with what you want to do, Social responsibility will come later on, and you will do that. I'm not saying ignore it, keep it in the back of your mind, but right now your only responsibility is you have this vision, you have come out with this idea, make it a real live product which your customers are using it. That's
so my guest today, of course, young entrepreneurs. They have a new startup, and we hope they do well. And what they are doing is helping people understand how the events are going to unfold. So now, in the next 2 minutes that I have, Anshul, you are a mathematician, and you are also familiar with how Indian politics is moving these days. Mm-hmm. So what do you say about these poll surveys that are conducted, and is there any algorithm that you have developed which which may help us in understanding how it's going to play out?
Well, very interesting question. So I think there are ways in which you can track. So there has been lots of talk of fake accounts, fake media, and whatever. So there are ways where you can actually backtrack who is talking about whom on Twitter, for example, and understand what is the real support from the citizens of India for any of these political parties. So there are algorithms in place. If someone wants to work on that, I'll be more than happy to actually provide some insights and some info. But again, I think you must be aware of this Times Top 100 list. So the next day there were some bots written in Python, I guess, or some language, and they were just clicking on one of these political leaders and trying to actually put them above. So, which was, I think, well acknowledged by media in India. So you understand that technology has been actually affecting all these sections of the society, even including political parties, the way we look at the world and everything. So yeah, so there are algorithms in place, coming back to the question, which can actually help you do lots of really cool things.
What is your take? Who is going to win?
Well, I want for the young entrepreneurs in India to have the same kind of facilities that I get here, where every week in New York you have so many meetups, you can go and talk to investors. So I think I would go for development in India, and whoever is the most popular personality in India who can provide
He's answering like a politician. Not like a businessman. Be direct and tell.
Okay, so I would go, even though I haven't voted, but I would have gone for Narendra Modi for this election. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So reluctantly, but he came up with it. Known to have created some sort of a wave, and let's see what happens. We are very close to getting to that point where we'll know what has happened in Indian election, and there is much more that we'll talk in Inside Tonight in the coming days. This Friday we'll have a special on Mother's Day, which is coming next Sunday. Tomorrow we have a show which is talking about oneness, and that is also the need of the hour from various angles. Much more on that. Thanking Rajiv Kaul, Kumesh, and Anshul for joining us today. And of course, thanking all of you with lots of good wishes for being with us. This is Ashok Vyas. Good night.